Hello, hello. Welcome back to I Read Books. And here is the next book, The Last Murder at the End of the World by Stuart Turton. Beautiful cover, beautiful sprayed edges, and even more. Get a gander at this. Ignore my hand. Beautiful map. Beautiful as freak. Yeah, really cool cover. I'm excited. I'm a very big murder mystery person. The book that I'm writing is a murder mystery, so it's awesome. So let's dive into the synopsis, shall we? Story time. Outside the island, there is nothing. The world was destroyed by a fog that swept the planet, killing anyone it touched. On the island is idyllic. 122 villagers and 3 scientists living in peaceful harmony. The villagers are content to fish, farm, and feast, to obey their nightly curfew, and to do what they're told by the scientists. Until, to the horror of the islanders, one of their beloved scientists is found brutally stabbed to death. And then they learned that the murder has triggered a lowering of the security system around the island, the only thing that was keeping the fog at bay. If the murder isn't solved within 107 hours, the fog will smother the island and everyone on it. But the security system has also wiped everyone's memories of exactly what happened the night before, which means that someone on the island is a murderer and they don't even know it. So this is very interesting. It's like a sci-fi murder mystery. I would have never have picked this book up if it wasn't gifted to me, because honestly, it sounds really weird and really crazy. But I'm honestly really excited. So I'm glad that this was gifted to me, because I wouldn't have picked this up. Even though, as much as I love murder mysteries, this one's kind of crazy. So this is book 2 on my 10 books that I wouldn't really usually read this year. Last one was Stephen King's Fairy Tale, and now is this one, because I don't know who Stewart is, but whoever designs his covers is freaking amazing. So let's read some Goodreads reviews here. Let me. All of these are okay. Here we go. Tracy P rated it 4 stars. Simply spectacular. Ate up every word from this masterful wordsmith. Highly recommend. Megu rated it 4 stars. Said 4.5. Steven rated it 3 stars. The plot was good, but overall felt he failed to pull it off. Diane rated it 3 stars and said 2.5, which isn't really 3 stars, Diane. Paula rated it 2 stars. I loved Evelyn. This one was promising, but it failed to deliver. Mary rated it 5 stars and said immediately, yes. Jess rated it 3 stars. I can't decide if this was a good kind of weird, but it was in fact weird. So there you have it. There's some of the people on Goodreads speaking their mind, and now it is my turn to speak my mind. I'm excited so far. I'm excited about it. I also did say that about the last book, but I also love murder mysteries. I love all kinds of murder mysteries. So yeah, I will. I'll see you. I'll see you when I see you. Okay. Whoa. Focus. I'm back. I'm back with the book, and I am. Oh goodness gracious! I'm 110 pages in. I think. Let me check. I should have had this open before I start. Okay, I am 31%. Yeah, I'm 110 pages in. I'm 31% through the book. This is out of 351 pages. So I'm a good chunk of the way through. Look at those sprayed edges, those gorgeous sprayed edges. This book, okay. This book has been really hard to get into. It is it's a sci-fi murder mystery, but it's also classified as a literary fiction, and it definitely the writing style feels like a literary fiction. So it's very interesting. As you can see, I kind of annotated some of it and then I gave up on it because I was just trying to understand what was happening, and annotating was taking me out of it. So it took me a while to figure out what was like who was actually like narrating it because it seems very first person. It's first person, but it also feels like very much like it's third person, which was very weird. So, and I didn't figure you don't really figure out who's narrating it. I mean, maybe you do figure it out sooner than me. I didn't figure it out until I was about like 50 pages in. It's this like I don't know if it's a robot or like some sort of like sentient being because it can communicate in the head. It's called Abi. It's called Abi. I don't know if it's like a robot or something, but that's what's like narrating the whole book. It because it's weird because it seems like it's third person, but it also uses I a lot. So it is third person, but it feels so much like third person. So it's really weird because Abi isn't even it has a list of characters and what their roles are, and Abi isn't even on it, which is weird. So again, this is like this whole book has been like it's been hard for me to get into. It's a very interesting premise. I've never read anything like this before. Like I would have never picked this book up and this is like the second book in a row because the last book that I read was Fairy Tale by Stephen King. And so that book was I didn't like it. I didn't like it. That was very hard to get into. It was very hard to just read in general. So this isn't a very hard read. The chapters are super short. Um but it's just a really interesting premise. It's a village of 122 people, and they cannot have any more than 122 people because their like agriculture and like all their supplies and stuff cannot support more than 122 people. But like people were killed by the fog, whatever, and it surrounds their island, but it like because the fog kills anything it touches. Unfortunately, it covers the entire Earth except for our island and a half a mile ocean surrounding it. So it opens with um one of the scientists, Nima. She's like she's a teacher, and so she's taking everyone out on a boat to go like near the fog to teach them about the fog. Um so that's what happens. I don't know, it's very interesting because I don't like okay, I don't know what Abi is, which is the weird part. I don't know if it's gonna be like revealed later what Abi is, but yes, it's a lot of world building. Um, it's very interesting. I the only other literary fiction book that I've ever read is The Midnight Library. So I don't know if it's a very common literary fiction thing to like kind of info dump a little bit. But there is a little bit of it's been like a good amount of info dumping, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. But basically, what ends up happening, Nima wants to perform this experiment, but the last time I'm just going to read this. Tomorrow night, I'm going to conduct an experiment that's failed every time I've tried it previously. Oh my gosh. But if it fails this time, I'll have to do something unforgivable, and I'm not certain I have the strength. So it just keeps on going. We learn that that these villagers, besides the scientists, they have a curfew, and Abi will like put them to sleep at the curfew, and he will wake them up again at I think 7 a.m. And so Like they like dead like after like the curfew bells ring, everyone literally like, no matter where you are, you will drop asleep and then that's where you'll wake up in the morning. Doesn't matter where you are, you will fall asleep because Abi is connected to everyone through this like he said mitochondrial system. And like he can talk in everyone's head, he knows what everyone's thinking. Like I think he can see what people are seeing as well and like knows like their memories and stuff. You can access that. So it's really weird. Yeah, but this thing was like the scientists are like hundreds of years old, but it says everyone dies on their 60th birthday, whether they're healthy or not. So everyone only lives till 60 unless you're like a scientist who like they're over 100. But everyone dies on their 60th birthday, whether they're healthy or not. They enjoy their funeral, then they go to sleep as normal. And at some point in the night, their hearts simply stop beating. After a lifetime of service, dying painlessly in their beds is the least I can give them. Is that's like what Abi is saying. So like Abi like in everyone's sleep, like if there's just their 60th birthday, like he just like he kills them in their sleep. I don't know like what that exactly means with like what he has going on, but that's what happened. They die in their sleep, so that's that's great. But so everyone only lives till 60 unless they're like a scientist because they're again it's like Nima is like over 100. I don't know how old the other one is, but the other two are. But basically, keep going. We learn about Adil, who is someone's grandfather who was exiled at some point and is still somewhere on the island, not in their village, because they all only stay in their village. There's a whole part of the island that like they don't go on. So Adil was exiled, but Abi can still like access him and stuff, and so like he's able to like talk to him, so he knows he's still alive and whatnot, and he can still like feel him in his mitochondrial system, whatever it is. I don't know. Like I know like mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, whatever, but I don't know like what the mitochondrial system like entails like from everybody. Like what I have no idea. But so he what eventually Abi lures Adil to the like the lighthouse and the place that they're gonna do this experiment with Nima. Um, and he uses it like oh like he tells her like where like oh Nima's gonna be at the lighthouse whatever like you like whatever like go there whatever and he like manipulates him a little bit into like getting there to see Nima because he wants to kill her because he hates her for exiling him. And so they get to the lighthouse. This is way further in the book. They get to the lighthouse and they start whatever like talking about like this experiment whatever that they're going to run, the one that they said like if it doesn't go correctly it's going to kill someone, as was said previously in the book. I don't know if I said that. Basically, if it doesn't work, it'll kill someone. Is basically like in the past when they've done it, it hasn't worked and it's killed someone. I don't know who that someone is, like in particular, but they said like someone needs to be in the seat. Like they needed to pick someone to die. But so Adil meets him there, and then but the reason that I don't think I went over this, the reason that Adil was exiled is because he like woke up and like was like he wasn't able to get put to sleep. He was still in like the mitochondrial system or whatever, but like he wasn't able to get put to sleep. and he wasn't like he like woke up in a way, and he like knew what was going on. And so Nima was questioning whether or not to tell everyone what was happening or to do this experiment, but Abi talked her out of telling everyone, because if she did the experiment and it succeeded, then she wouldn't potentially lose everyone if she told them and they were like going crazy. So but basically what happened is that I'm just gonna read this. This is chapter 18. That's chapter 18. So I'm just gonna read it. This is what happens after like they're doing this experiment, whatever. So it jumps from them talking about doing the experiment, and then we have this lovely page that says 50 hours till humanity's extinction, and then it jumps to chapter 18, and this is all like the blur. This is the only blurb that we get from like the night. It says it's nearly dawn. Orange sunlight drawing across the island. On the west coast, 30 minutes walk from the village, Hephaestus is asleep on a dirty mattress in an old World War II bunker built into the rock face. There's dried blood under his nose. His face is freshly bruised. His arms are raked by the fingernails of a dozen hands. He's naked, sweat shining on his skin, an alarm screeching. He opens a bloodshot eye to see a flashing red light on the wall. Shaking off his daze, he scrambles to his feet and stumbles over a homemade oscilloscope that is sitting on the table among bits of machinery. Clutching it in both hands, he gives it a shake. Is this right? He demands of me. Yes. Roaring, he hurls it at the wall, then swipes everything off a work table. Where's my mother? In the village. So this is like, that's like the only thing that we get from the night. And then we turn to the next page. It says, Emery wakes up groaning at 7 a.m. So it jumps all the way to 7 a.m. when everyone wakes up from curfew. And then she realizes there's a fire. And then I think it's in one of the old like military, because the place that they're living at used to be a Navy base. So it's in one of like the military barracks or something. Or in one of the like warehouses. And so, yeah, one of the warehouses burning. Mm-hmm. So then they put it out, and then they see. I'm just gonna read it. She drags away a bit of the collapsed ceiling until she discovers Nima lying in a lifeless heap, a ceiling beam crushing most of her skull. So it basically gives a couple characters different POVs to what happened, and that we also learn the soil is dead, and all of their food rations and stuff it's gone. They have nothing to eat. They can't grow any more food. They have no food store. It's gone. Most of the first aid stuff is gone as well. And then they start to have a like funeral for her. And where is it? And we learn that Abi and Adil are still working together. And so they have this some sort of plan. And so Abi, like, people are asking Abi, like, do you remember what happened? Do you remember what happened? He's saying, oh no, my memories are wiped, And a couple other people's memories like are kind of wiped too, of what happened during that time, because they don't know what happened. So he lied and said that his memories were wiped, even though they weren't. Obviously, we don't know what the fuck happened, but it's then Abi makes up a story that the warehouse caught fire after the curfew, and Nima woke 6 friends from their sleep, hoping that they could tackle the blaze. Unfortunately, they were killed by smoke inhalation while Nima was crushed by a falling beam. And then Emery, who is one of the main characters and is going to serve as one of the investigators for the story going forward, comes in and then talks about like, oh, like this doesn't make any sense. Said Nima has a wound in her chest about this wide. She like held like her thumb and her forefinger apart, whatever, how big it is, matched the thickness of a blade, maybe a knife. There's nothing in the warehouse that could have caused it. And the fire didn't reach Nima. It was towards the rear of the warehouse by the rain. And then she injured herself somewhere elsewhere in the village and staggered into the warehouse. There would have been a blood trail, and she couldn't have bandaged it because there was no bandage on the body when she found it. And then Abi told her that the injury was made by the rebel that fell on her, because obviously Abi is lying. She is lying. So, and that's where I've left off. That's it. So, it was really tough to kind of get into starting, but now it's getting interesting. I'm only a third of the way through, so I am very interested to see what happens next. So I will. I'll see you. I'll see you in a few seconds with the next update. Okay, so I've read more. I am now 229 pages in and 65% way through the book, and it's gotten interesting. That's a bookmark for reference. It's gotten weird. It's gotten interesting. Weirdest thing being the villagers aren't actually humans. The elders are, the scientists are, but the villagers were actually like grown in like these like pods and stuff. They're like actually like their DNA was like invented and shit. And then at night when they get put to sleep, they're not actually put to sleep. And they actually like go and work and do stuff on the island, but nobody remembers because their memory is wiped and they don't remember doing any of that. So that's weird. And that also goes into like everyone's memories wiped for the murder whenever when Nemo went to wake people up to help her. The people that helped her or like help her when she was murdered, that like they woke up with like blood on them and whatnot. And they don't remember anything because it was wiped from their current memory. So yeah, they've just kind of been going through. There hasn't been a lot of evidence found, but the part that I just got to, and I was like, okay, like I just read this part. I need to go record right now. Emery, who was leading this investigation, went to go talk to Adil, who they were talking whatever, and his memory wasn't wiped because he's a part of their plan and whatnot. And so he just goes on. He's talking yada 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 about like, yeah, I was at the lighthouse. I went to the lighthouse with the intention of killing her, and I was like this close to actually killing her and whatnot and whatever, but I didn't. And then she asked me to walk with her to the lighthouse, whatever, and she said she was going to go in the lighthouse, but she asked me to wait back at the village. You know, she said I could be unexiled. Yeah, she apologized, whatever, for her actions, and she wanted me to come back. Said that I could come back to the village and be unexiled, and she was going to tell everyone the truth that night. And then she went into the lighthouse, and he heard someone screaming in the lighthouse. It was this whatever woman was screaming in the lighthouse, but he turned his head the other way because of what just happened. And so he went back to the village, but his boat got into some rough waters, and so he didn't get back until the very moment when he walked into the village. He saw Nima getting murdered, and he said it was Thea, who is one of the other elders, who is one Thea and Hesephoris, I'm pretty sure is how you pronounce it. Pause. Hephaestus. That's how I'm going to pronounce it because I have no idea. Hephaestus, who they're both actually human. So Nema, Thea, and Hephaestus are all human. Nema, I don't know if Thea and Hephaestus are related, but Nema is Hephaestus's mom. I learned that. But the interesting thing, also forgot to mention, I'm forgetting to mention stuff. Another important plot point here is that there's a bunch of other humans that are underground in cryo chambers, but they can't reach them right now because the black smoke has gone over where they're buried in their cryo chambers, but they're fine though because they're in the cryo chambers, so they're not gonna fucking die. Um, so there's a bunch of humans in cryo chambers. One of them being Thea's sister, because she had when Emery went through her room, she found a note or in her diary saying about how she lost her sister because she was in one of the cryo chambers. So yeah, it's been mostly like they've been doing like lab tests and stuff, like whose blood's on what, like Hui's or um, Nima's, because Hui was also who's another one of the characters, um, who's Clara's best friend, Clara, who is Emery's daughter. She had disappeared the same night that Nima was murdered, but hers and Nima's blood are on like everything. So yeah, I have like 130 pages left. And so I'm just gonna keep reading it. So my guess is that it's probably not Thea because Adil is a part of whatever plan that him and Abby were figuring out. I still don't know what Abby is. I don't know what she is. I don't know what she is. I know Abby is she. Is it? Because they keep referring to Abby as like she. So I know that. But like I have no idea like if Abby's a human or a robot or like an entity of I don't know. Abby's a girl though. So that's the Abby update. That's the Abby update that I got for you. Abby's a girl. Um Yeah, so my guess is not Thea because Adil and Abi were like said like, oh, like no, they can't know, otherwise we'll be dead. If they know our plan, like we'll be dead. So my guess is it's not Thea because they straight up said that, and I still have 130 pages left. So I'll be back with more news later. Adios. Good morning. I finished the book. It's not too bad. Not too bad. It's not the worst thing that I read. It's not the best thing I read. It's a very, very in between book. Um, the ending shocked me to my core because they said the murderer was like three different people, and then they ruled it as a suicide. So that's what happened. Um, yeah, very, very interesting. People died that didn't need to die. Like, so basically, they were going through all the evidence, and then they're like, no, like, Hephaestus, or however the fuck you pronounce his name, it's early in the morning. I'm not doing this. Hephaestus he murdered his mother, and then they put him in the memory extractor to get his memories, and he died. Because you use the memory extractor and like you die. Um, and so, but when they played his memories, he didn't kill Nema. I think he killed Hui. I'm pretty sure. Like he stabbed the both of them, but not Hui. The both of them ended up dying. Nema didn't die of the stab wound. I think Hui did though. So the reason they were trying to figure out who killed Nema because when whoever killed Nema died, the fog was supposed to retreat. But you can't really have that if the person who died was a person who killed themselves. So, um, very interesting plot twist. But then they go and they like start the world anew with whatever they have. Um, so that was interesting. And that was the end in the book. I found out what Abi is. I found it out. So Abi stands for artificial biological intelligence. So Abi is like this matter that is in every. So Abi's not a physical thing. Abi actually doesn't, contrary to what I thought and what I believe that I was gaslit into thinking, is that Abi was a physical and a mental form. But Abi was only in like there's this substance that they put in everyone that they were able to put a lot of in these species, but not a lot of in the humans, or else the humans would die. But so Abi is like this substance that is able to like tap into everything and like talk to everyone and put them to sleep and like control basically every single like thing. So that's what Abi is. That's what she is. Um, Found that out at the very end. So thank you, Stuart, for making me wait till the very end to figure out if I was like hallucinating or not. That's your Abi update. Abi is a substance of sorts. So yeah, it was a ride. It took I honestly this was super interesting. Like this tested like my brain and my brain power and like totally changes. Like I love that how genre bending this is because it totally changes the game when it comes to genre bending for sure. It's super interesting. My mind was like on the whole time and I've never read anything like this before. So it reads like a literary fiction because it's technically classified as a literary fiction, but it's very much like a sci-fi murder mystery. So I would totally recommend this. I would give it three and a half stars for sure. And yeah, that's all I gotta say. It was pretty good. Like I feel like anything compared to the last book that I read is really fucking good. But I'm being very genuine with this one. This is one of the most mind-boggling and interesting books that I have read. It has been like a very big change of pace. This is the only second literary fiction book that I've ever read. So, yeah, here is 2 books down on my 10 books that I would never read. Reading 10 books that I would never read series for the year. So, yeah, two in a row. I'm making it up for January. I'm gonna try to do one of these a month. We'll see how that happens. But yeah, so here was Stuart Turton's The Last Murder at the End of the World. I'm kind of covering world. That says world. So yeah, one of the most interesting books that I've ever read. So if you like this and you want to see more, please subscribe and like the video. And if you want to find me elsewhere and also learn about more about my book, you can do that in the description below on my Instagram. I don't really post on Twitter or X, but that's also there for when I do. And you can learn more about my book there. I post mostly on Instagram. So if you want to go to the link down below, or you can search up my name, Adelina Zach Author. That is my Instagram, and you can follow me there and get updates on it. Very constant weekly updates. I'm talking about the characters, the houses, all sorts of different details every week, as well as I have some fun other posts, as well as some advice posts as well. Um, So I, not just the podcast, but, and yeah, new episode of the podcast comes out next week. It's once a month. But if you have any questions or anything that you would like me to cover on the podcast or on my Instagram, you can submit them in the question form down below as well. So thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Bye.